They're ringing to symbolise that the coffin of Lady Diana is leaving Buckingham Palace and is en route to the service that will be held at the church.
Over 27 years ago, the world paused to mourn the loss of a woman who redefined what it meant to be royal. Diana Spencer, the People's Princess and Queen of Hearts, wasn't just a royal figure. She was a transformative force. But why, even decades later, does Princess Diana remain such a fascinating and relevant icon? How did she not only change the British royal family, but also redefine the very concept of modern humanitarianism? In this in-depth video, we'll delve into Diana's extraordinary journey, from a childhood marked by personal challenges to her meteoric rise as a global icon. We'll explore how her revolutionary empathy, pioneering humanitarian work, and audacious protocol-breaking spirit not only made her beloved, but also forever shaped the monarchy and the world. Diana Frances Spencer came into the world on July 1, 1961 at Park House in Sandringham. Her childhood was steeped in British aristocracy, with ties extending back centuries to the royal family itself. It was a world of privilege, but also of profound personal pain. Her parents divorced when she was just 6 years old, a trauma she never forgot. Especially the sound of her mother's footsteps fading away would forever shape her empathetic approach to the suffering of others. This experience of abandonment molded her determination to provide stability and warmth for her own children. Diana didn't excel academically, but she showed a natural inclination for caring, particularly in swimming and her desire to help. It was this young woman, just 19, who, in the summer of 1980 at a house party, met Prince Charles, then 32. What followed was a whirlwind courtship, just 13 dates before their engagement announcement in February 1981. The public, eager for a royal romance, was instantly captivated. On July 29, 1981, an estimated 750 million people worldwide watched the wedding of the century at St. Paul's Cathedral. Instantly, Diana, Princess of Wales, became a global figure. It was the beginning of a fairy tale the world would follow with fascination, but no one could have predicted the profound and quiet revolution this young princess would bring to the centuries-old British monarchy. What truly set Diana apart from previous royals was her unprecedented ability to connect with people on a deeply human level. Her empathy and charisma weren't merely performative. They represented a genuine transformation in how members of the monarchy could engage with the public. She had a very thoughtful approach to how her actions would be interpreted. Yet her responses always came from an authentic place of compassion. Diana broke centuries of royal protocol in revolutionary ways. She refused to wear gloves when greeting the public, believing they created a barrier between herself and the people she encountered. When interacting with children, she made a point of crouching down to their eye level, ensuring genuine engagement rather than the traditional royal wave from above. Her willingness to embrace, touch, and show physical affection in public was virtually unprecedented for a member of the royal family. As she famously said,
"I think the biggest disease this world suffers from in this day and age is a disease of people feeling unloved. And I know that I can give love for a minute, for half an hour, for a day, for a month, but I can give, and I'm very happy to do that, and I want to do that."
And her vulnerability? In her famous 1995 Panorama interview, she spoke openly about her battles with bulimia and depression, issues millions of women worldwide could identify with. This vulnerability, far from diminishing her status, actually strengthened her connection with ordinary people who saw her as someone who understood their struggles. Royal commentators noted that Diana's approach represented a passive power, an ability to instinctively use her appeal to achieve meaningful goals. Unlike the traditional royal approach of maintaining distance and formality, Diana infused vitality, activism, and above all, glamour into her royal role. She didn't just change the monarchy, she set a new standard for compassion in public life. Perhaps no single act better exemplifies Princess Diana's transformative impact than her work with HIV/AIDS patients during the height of public fear and misinformation in the 1980s. On April 1987, when Diana opened the UK's first dedicated HIV/AIDS unit at London's Middlesex Hospital, she performed what many consider one of the most significant public health advocacy acts of the decade. In front of the world's media, Diana deliberately shook hands with an AIDS patient without wearing gloves, a gesture that challenged widespread public misconceptions about HIV transmission. At the time, much of the public believed the virus could be transmitted through casual contact, and many healthcare workers were reluctant to treat AIDS patients without extensive protective equipment. She passionately declared,
HIV does not make people dangerous to know. So you can shake their hands and give them a hug. Heaven knows they need it.
This moment had immediate global impact. As John O'Reilly, a nurse present during Diana's visit, later explained to the BBC, the princess showed in a single gesture that this was a condition needing compassion and understanding, not fear and ignorance. Her actions helped transform public perception of AIDS patients from pariahs to people deserving compassion and proper medical care. Diana's HIV/AIDS advocacy extended far beyond a single hospital visit. She became patron of the National AIDS Trust and made numerous visits to hospices and care facilities. The Mile-May Hospital, which she visited 17 times, credited her with helping to change how the world viewed HIV and AIDS by showing that people living with the virus were not to be feared but to be treated with compassion and understanding. This solidified her reputation for dedicated charity work. The princess's humanitarian work wasn't limited to AIDS advocacy. She championed causes affecting the most vulnerable members of society, the homeless, drug users, and children in need. Her approach was hands-on and personal. She would sit on patients' hospital beds, hold hands with the dying, and spend time listening to individual stories. This direct engagement was revolutionary for a royal who traditionally maintained ceremonial distance from such situations. She truly touched lives and did so unforgettably. Diana's impact on the monarchy came partly through her systematic breaking of established royal protocols, actions that initially caused consternation within royal circles, but ultimately endeared her to the public. These weren't accidental transgressions, but conscious choices that reflected her belief in authentic human connection over rigid formality. She famously stated,
"Because I don't go by a rule book, because I lead from the heart, not the head."
One of her most significant protocol breaks occurred at her own wedding, when she chose to omit the word obey from her marriage vows, a decision that both Kate Middleton and Meghan Markle later followed. This seemingly small change represented a broader shift toward more egalitarian relationships, even within the monarchy. As a mother, Diana revolutionized royal parenting. She became the first royal to give birth in a hospital rather than at home, chose to breastfeed her children, and insisted on being a hands-on parent rather than delegating primary care to nannies. When she took 9-month-old Prince William on the 1983 tour of Australia, she established a precedent that royal children could accompany their parents on official duties. She once said, "A mother's arms are more comforting than anyone else's." Diana made conscious decisions to expose William and Harry to life beyond the palace walls. She took them to homeless shelters, allowed them to experience public transportation, and ensured they understood the realities faced by ordinary people. Her famous trips to McDonald's, Disney World, and go-kart tracks were not mere photo opportunities, but deliberate attempts to give her sons experiences typical of their generation. The princess also innovated in terms of royal education. Prince William became the first heir to the throne to attend public nursery school, breaking the tradition of exclusive private tutoring. Diana insisted that both boys attend mainstream schools, where they could develop friendships with children from various backgrounds. Her protective instincts were fierce. Diana made significant efforts to shield William and Harry from excessive media intrusion while still fulfilling her public duties. She negotiated with photographers for private family time and was known to physically position herself between her children and cameras when necessary.
As a parent, could I ask you to respect my children's space? As a parent, I want to protect children. Thank you.
This nurturing approach has had a lasting impact on both sons. Prince William and Catherine's parenting style clearly reflects Diana's influence, with their emphasis on emotional availability and normal childhood experiences for their own children. Prince Harry has spoken extensively about how his mother's approach to parenting informed his own values and his decision to prioritize his family's well-being above royal duty. The fairy tale narrative of Charles and Diana's romance began to unravel almost as soon as their marriage vows were exchanged. What appeared to be a perfect royal match was, in reality, a union between two people fundamentally ill-suited to each other, complicated by the presence of what Diana would later famously describe as a third person in their marriage. Charles, at 32, was marrying a woman 13 years his junior who, despite her aristocratic background, was largely unprepared for the intense scrutiny and rigid expectations of royal life. The prince had reportedly harbored doubts about the marriage from the beginning, with some sources suggesting he told biographer Robert Jobson, "I desperately wanted to get out of the wedding in 1981, when during the engagement I discovered just how awful the prospects were, having had no chance whatsoever to get to know Diana beforehand." The presence of Camilla Parker Bowles cast a shadow over the marriage from its earliest days. Charles had maintained his relationship with Camilla before his marriage to Diana, and according to multiple sources, resumed the affair by 1986. Diana's awareness of this relationship created profound emotional distress that manifested in eating disorders, depression, and what she described as cries for help. The breakdown of their marriage played out increasingly in public view throughout the late 1980s and early 1990s. Both Charles and Diana eventually participated in tell-all interviews and cooperated with biographers to present their versions of events. Charles's 1994 admission to Jonathan Dimbleby that he had been unfaithful after the marriage had irretrievably broken down was followed by Diana's devastating 1995 Panorama interview, where she spoke openly about Charles's affair and her own extramarital relationship. The formal separation was announced in December 1992, with their divorce finalized in August 1996. Diana lost her HRH title but retained her Princess of Wales designation and received a significant financial settlement. More importantly for Diana, she secured an agreement that allowed her to maintain a central role in her sons' lives and continue her humanitarian work. Diana's evolution from the demure, shy Di of her engagement photos to one of the world's most influential fashion icons represents one of the most dramatic style transformations in public memory. Her fashion choices became a form of communication, sending messages about her emotional state, her values, and her growing independence from royal convention. This era truly defined Princess Diana fashion. In her early royal years, Diana adhered to traditional expectations, wearing conservative suits and formal gowns that reflected royal protocol. However, as she grew in confidence and began to assert her independence, her fashion choices became bolder and more personal. She worked with trusted designers like Catherine Walker, Victor Edelstein, and Versace to create looks that were both appropriate for her royal role and reflective of contemporary fashion trends. Diana's most famous fashion moment came in June 1994, when she wore a figure-hugging black off-the-shoulder dress by Christina Stambolian to a Serpentine Gallery event, the same evening that Charles's documentary admitting his affair was broadcast. The revenge dress, as it became known, was a masterclass in using fashion to convey strength and defiance. The image of Diana looking confident and radiant while her marriage publicly crumbled became one of the most iconic photographs of the decade. The princess understood that fashion could amplify her humanitarian message. She wore bright, colorful clothing during hospital visits so that she could easily engage with children, avoided hats when visiting because they interfered with her ability to hug patients, and chose attire that reflected respect for the cultures she visited during international trips. Her 1986 visit to Japan, where she wore a red and white polka-dotted dress reflecting the Japanese flag, demonstrated her sophisticated understanding of diplomatic dressing. Diana's influence on fashion extends far beyond her lifetime. Contemporary designers like Virgil Abloh and Hedi Slimane have credited her as an inspiration. Her daughters-in-law, Catherine and Meghan, are both considered to channel Diana's influence in their own style choices. Most remarkably, Diana has found a new generation of admirers among Gen Z and millennials who weren't alive during her lifetime, but have discovered her through social media platforms like TikTok and Instagram. The hashtag Lady Diana has generated over 1.6 billion views on TikTok, with young people recreating her workout outfits, emulating her street style, and drawing inspiration from her off-duty looks. Her signature combination of cycling shorts, oversized sweatshirts, and chunky trainers has become a staple of contemporary casual fashion, proving the enduring relevance of her aesthetic choices. In the final months of her life, Diana's humanitarian work reached its most impactful phase with her campaign against anti-personnel landmines. Her January 1997 visit to Angola, conducted in partnership with the International Red Cross and the Halo Trust, represented the culmination of her evolution from ceremonial royal to serious international advocate. Angola, ravaged by decades of civil war, contained an estimated 15 million landmines scattered across its territory. The country had the highest rate of amputees per capita in the world. Diana's decision to visit active minefields, wearing protective gear, and walking through cleared paths created some of the most powerful images of her career. The famous photograph of Diana wearing a protective visor and flak jacket, walking through a minefield in Huambo, became an iconic image that transformed global awareness of the landmine crisis. She proved that the diplomacy of compassion was the most effective. The events of August 31st, 1997 in Paris fundamentally altered not just the royal family, but British society as a whole. Diana's death in the Pont de l'Alma tunnel, alongside her companion Dodi Al-Fayed and driver Henri Paul, sparked an unprecedented outpouring of public grief that caught both the media and the monarchy completely unprepared. The circumstances of the crash immediately generated controversy. The driver was under the influence and speeding. The pursuing paparazzi, while not directly responsible for the crash, became symbols of the media intrusion that had plagued Diana throughout her public life. Official investigations in both France and Britain concluded that Diana's death was a tragic accident, but conspiracy theories proliferated, fueled by allegations that the crash was orchestrated. Despite extensive investigations, no credible evidence supporting these theories has ever been found. The persistence of these beliefs reflects both the public's deep emotional investment in Diana and broader skepticism about official narratives. The week following Diana's death witnessed scenes unprecedented in British history. An estimated 60 million flowers were left outside royal residences. The public's demand for the royal family to acknowledge their grief forced significant changes in royal protocol, culminating in the Queen's televised address and her decision to bow to Diana's coffin during the funeral procession. The funeral itself, watched by an estimated 2.5 billion people worldwide, became a defining moment in British cultural history. Tony Blair's description of Diana as the people's princess encapsulated the public mood and provided a phrase that has defined her legacy ever since.
She was the people's princess, and that's how she will stay, how she will remain in our hearts and in our memories forever.
The Diana effect transformed the monarchy. Diana's impact on the British royal family extends far beyond her death, fundamentally altering how the monarchy operates and presents itself to the world. Her sons, William and Harry, are living proof of her legacy, embracing causes that echo their mother's values. The Duchess of Cambridge has clearly studied Diana's approach to public engagement. King Charles III himself has acknowledged Diana's influence on his approach to kingship, showing an effort to appear more relatable and emotionally available. The monarchy now embraces more open communication, social media engagement, and direct interaction with the public, all innovations that can be traced back to Diana's influence. Princess Diana's legacy represents far more than nostalgia for a beloved public figure. It embodies a fundamental transformation in how we understand the relationship between privilege and responsibility, celebrity and service, tradition and innovation. Her life demonstrated that authentic compassion, combined with strategic use of public platform, can create lasting positive change in society. As new generations discover her story through contemporary media, Diana's influence continues to evolve while maintaining its essential character. The belief that individual compassion, courageously expressed, can change the world. This enduring relevance ensures that Princess Diana's legacy will continue to inspire and influence long into the future, cementing her place not just as the people's princess of her era, but as a timeless symbol of empathetic leadership and humanitarian service. And you, what aspect of Diana's legacy inspires you most? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more content like this.